Good evening, everyone. SpaceX maintains the top spot in Ars Technica's annual rankings. You'll never guess who actually dropped a couple of notches. That's an interesting story. L3 Harris sells 60% of its stake in space propulsion business for $845 million. We're going to check out some of the private spacecraft attempting lunar landings this year. Investor Place analyst says this could be the breakout year for space stocks. We'll talk about that for a minute. And the private company in China called Landspace is targeting $1 billion in an IPO. So they're moving fast. The biggest satellite ever was launched the other day, and its owners are targeting Starlink. All this and our guest, Phillip Johnston, and what promises to be an eye-opening discussion of AI data centers in orbit. From the news desk at the Center for Space Commerce and Finance, my name is Thomas Andrew Olson, and this is the Quantity. And this is the first show of 2026. Welcome, everyone. And as you know, we are sponsored by the Center for Space Commerce and Finance. What do? We champion and strengthen emerging space startups and space-adjacent enterprises worldwide through advisory, access, and advocacy. Our pitch events and world-class boot camps fortify startups to be better investor-ready. Now, a lot of our work, especially this podcast, is supported by our listeners and fans like you. Remember, the center is a 501c3 nonprofit. Just go to our website, cscf.space/support, click the donate button, and drop something in the tip jar. Thanks so much for all your help. Now, my oldest space friend, Michael Lane, without the religious references, is here with us. Come on in, ma'am.
I'm disappointed without the religious references, without the cult references. It's like you don't even know me anymore.
I thought, no, I just didn't want to torture you one day this year. I didn't want to torture you. So I thought, welcome, brother. We're here. We're doing it again. Another year, man. Where does it go?
Shaman. Sean in the background's calling me a shaman. Hey.
That's better than some things.
Yeah.
Be cult leader.
Cult leader. Well, I'm.
But that's kind of what you wear, isn't it?
It is. Yeah. Check. I got a bunch of astronauts on my shirt today.
Yeah. Good.
Yeah. Happy New Year.
Welcome
to the new year. We've got some big stuff planned this year. I'm kind of excited about it. Yeah.
Oh yeah. We're going to have a lot to talk about in the coming weeks, not just tonight. One thing before you go, and I just want to give a shout out to my good friend Veronica Ann in Arizona. I've been trying to get her to come to this thing for weeks, and finally she shows up. Hi there, good to see you. Lovely to see you. She was kind of retired for a while. She used to load science payloads onto the shuttles.
Oh, right on.
For a long time, and she was right in there with all the cool kids, and she kind of semi-retired for a while, went and did other things. And she's thinking about rejoining the world, and I'm trying to encourage her a lot in doing that. And so, you too, dear. Love you.
Yep.
So enjoy tonight. It's going to be a good time. You're going to love it. And Morty also is in the house. Morty's back. Hey, man, good to see you.
Let's get off to a good new year. I'm gonna put a shameless plug in for myself.
Okay.
I'm gonna be the guest on Thursday, as if y'all don't see enough of me. But Sean's gonna take the news. You and Sean are gonna take the news, and I'm gonna be the guest. So that'll be an interesting role reversal. And
that's interesting because I was gonna keep that kind of quiet until you showed up on Thursday. But now you've let the cat out of the bag.
Sorry.
The whole ending is now shot, but okay.
Okay.
That's okay, because I know you have some absolutely astounding stuff to announce, and that's why we're doing it. And so I'm looking forward to Thursday as well. But for now, let's get through the news quickly because we have a big
Yeah.
night, and I want us to get to our guest, of
Yeah.
course. I love this first thing. Ars Technica apparently does an annual power ranking of U.S. rocket companies. Now, of course, SpaceX is going to be number one. No change from last year.
Right. No surprise
But
there.
Blue Origin went up 2 spots. They went from number 4 to number 2.
Uh-huh.
And of course, we know that's because, Bezos' company sent Katy Perry into space. But this is Eric Berger. So he says, well, they could have achieved number 1 if they hadn't brought her back.
Right.
But they did the New Glenn, and they sent a test payload into orbit. Rocket Lab, no change. They had an excellent year. United Launch Alliance dropped from 2 to 4, mostly because they were going to launch 20 missions in 2025, and they didn't quite get there with their new Vulcan rocket.
They got 6.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that's good. And Tori Bruno at the very, very end of December is like, peace, I'm out. And he joined Blue Origin. So he didn't drop in the rankings. He just went from number 2 last year to number 2 this year with a change of company.
Right.
So
maybe ULA can't go up in the rankings, but I am. By
right,
God.
exactly.
Blue Origin. I'm going to climb on board that ship.
Yep.
Here's when Northrop Grumman, it's kind of interesting. They actually went up a notch, but when I wanted to mention, somebody went down a notch. Firefly.
Yeah.
Even though they did the Blue Ghost lander and set the world on fire, the rest of the year was far less successful for one.
Yeah.
Their Alpha rocket they launched only once, and it didn't reach orbit. Their payload didn't, and then the second launch they were going to do is destroyed on the vertical test stand. So there you go, right?
Yeah.
Stoke Space, one of your guys, no change there. Relativity Spaces, skip down Astra. This guy, he puts together number 10, Phantom Space and Via Space. So just like startups, and they're probably 2 years away, both of them. But he says, we're putting these companies on the list, not because of a strong conviction that either will ever reach orbit, because it's a list of the top 10 launch companies. It ought to have at least 10 companies on it. So here we are.
I know we're going to go out of order, but I'm just going to bring up the China land space for a second because it fits in with this, right?
Yep.
So, Sean, if you could pull that up, this is just one of China's many space companies, right? So in that Ars Technica article, he mentions, SpaceX, 165 launches, 85% of the US market. That means we launched pretty close to 190 times, 195 times in the US. China in the middle 70s, something like that.
Right.
But what's different is that they have many functional rocket companies. Landspace is trying to copy the SpaceX model for reusable, so that is new. But they have many functional rockets that are going to orbit.
Like we just reported this like a week ago. They converted a Long March, an old Long March,
right,
to reusable.
So while we have, the biggest hitter on the planet, they have a really deep bench. And I think that is something that folks should be paying attention to. When those other rocket companies pick up their cadence, if the best we've got is, Firefly that's had some mishaps, and Astra that's not on the game, and ULA that's not really in the game, and Northrop Grumman that's not really in the game, we need to kind of balance that a little bit. So I just wanted to point that out when we talk about China's land.
Okay, then on that topic, let's go out of order again.
Yeah, okay.
And we'll go to the Moonrush article.
Yeah. Okay, all right.
Let's go to the Moonrush article. This is the one where we showcase the guys that are supposed to be attempting lunar landings next year, and it boils down to 4. Blue Origin with their Blue Moon Pathfinder mission. They're launching on a new Glenn as early as sometime, maybe in first quarter. Firefly is going to do Blue Ghost M2, and this time they want to go to the far side.
Yay. Yep.
Interesting. So that'd be the feat that only China has done that to date. So they're wanting to get after that. And also that mission also carries the ESA's Lunar Pathfinder orbiter. So with a Firefly's OTV, they'll act as the communications relay for Blue Ghost 2. Intuitive Machines is going to attempt its third lunar landing in the second half of the year with IM-3. Now, here's the thing. Are they sending the same tall, skinny rocket that they sent the last two times?
I hope they learned that lesson.
Yeah, because if it's the same, if they're making the same mistake, then we're back to, expecting different results, doing the same thing. Right. And then there's Astrobotic doing their Griffin mission. Yeah. And revitalizing the Peregrine, technology. And that's who we know for sure is going to be sending stuff this year. We haven't talked about possible NASA missions or anything else. But,
right. China's sending Chang'e 7, so that's on the to-do list towards the middle of the year. And of course, we're going to have a mission go around the moon, a crewed mission. I think 4 astronauts for 10 days. That I think is supposed to launch in the next 2 weeks. So we need to look that up and just.
Well, it's also supposed to be a Starship test.
Yep. Right.
A couple of weeks from now.
Yep.
Yeah, I guess the first window is the 24th or something. So
2026 is gonna like. I was so happy with 2025, and I think 2026 is gonna rock some people. So I'm excited.
Yeah, absolutely. So actually, and we can actually look at that because that guy on Investor Play said that article that said 2026 could be the breakout year for space stocks. What do you think about that?
Sorry. Yeah, I think it's real. Look, it's not, the story is not just about SpaceX. Remember, we did that that Starship Singularity idea has been percolating for a while now. And then 5 years ago, it was about mass to orbit. But I think Starship Singularity can now be applied to the financing side so that whatever happens.
That's kind of what Mr. Lango here is suggesting. A 2026 SpaceX IPO could re-rate the entire sector.
Yeah.
And attract in more generalist capital, which would be huge.
Yeah. We got a comment in the LinkedIn. I think it's interesting. What do you call a private sector equivalent of flags and footprints? I think I don't know. I still think flags and footprints is appropriate, but financial flags and footprints, I don't know. That doesn't roll off the tongue quite.
Yeah.
But it's an idea. It's a good idea, right? It is the commercial equivalent. I like that. I'm actually going to think about that a little bit. Yeah. Clever. All right. What else we got? Move in quickly.
Okay. The biggest satellite ever just got launched into orbit a few days ago.
Mm-hmm.
And they're a big telecom and broadband satellite. So they're going in opposite direction of Starlink. They don't have a big, low LEO cluster of satellites. They have one big giant mofo that's just going to do it all.
Right.
And they're doing it. So they're going really old school. But they're doing it with new tech. And they're going after it that way.
I think it's going to be interesting. I'm kind of curious to see. There's a lot of folks that are pissed off about this one because it is so big, right? The astronomers got pissed off at the early days of SpaceX's streaks, and now they're like, you're messing up my sky here. But I mean, AST, I think is publicly traded. I actually am not sure of that, but I'm 60% sure they're publicly traded. I think they're an acquisition target. I would be really surprised if they get through 2027 without somebody buying them up, because I don't think they're quite big enough to stand on their own and do what they want to do. And there's a lot of folks that would be like, that looks really attractive. So
yeah,
I'm just going to say here, 2027, they're an acquisition target.
okay, all right. But interestingly, it's just I'm reading just about what they do. They want to. They're already counting AT&T, Verizon, and 50 other companies as partners.
Right.
And your phone will switch to the satellite once it loses contact with the tower. And they say that'll get you 120 megabytes per second, which is pretty good.
Our friend Charles Miller is the guy who pioneered that technology. I hope that he's getting a piece of that.
Yeah, yeah. Link.
They have an active patent, so I'm hoping that they, were able to monetize that a little bit. I do want to come back to this, though. The Bluebird 6 comes in at a full 2,400 square feet.
Yeah.
When we bring in our guest in a moment, I'm going to ask him how 2,400 square feet compares to what they're doing, because I think it's going to
absolutely. But they say it's the size of a 3-bedroom apartment, basically. Yeah. All right.
All right. Let's end this off with L3 Harris.
Yeah,
that's our. I'm. You know what? I'm just going to be generous and say that's our first $1 billion deal of the year. Right. Last year we were like, oh, there's a whole bunch of $100 million deals, and that was a really big deal. And then a couple of folks showed up with 8 and 40 and $1.5 trillion, 8 billion for what was it? Yeah, 8 billion from Japan, 40 billion from Germany, and some unknown very large number from JP Morgan that was $1.5 trillion. But I'm going to mark this as our first $1 billion deal for the year. So when we do next year's wrap up, Tom, let's just
that's in there. I'm making the list already.
Yeah.
I'm not taking any chances.
Right.
But the reason, when you look at it, though, interestingly, the reason is L3 Harris wants to kind of extricate themselves from just civilian space sector and concentrate more on defense, defense and security. So, because that's where all the money is, they're building the Golden Dome and all that stuff. So they wanted to free up some cash in case they wanted to invest in some new technology to do interesting things.
That's a Golden Dome play, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Let's put a war chest together. When the RFPs and RFIs come out for Golden Dome, we're going to sit right there on a mountain of cash, and that's what we're going to leverage. Yeah, I think it's a smart play.
Yes,
I think it's smart for both sides.
Absolutely.
Yeah, it's smart for both sides. All right, shall we bring in the guest?
Shall we let the fun begin? Dr. Doug is here. Well, interesting. Have the primary payloads of any of the CLPS landers been commercial? I don't think so yet. I think we're still in the test stage.
That's partly true. Grant Blaisdell from Copernic has actually commercialized a very small portion. I think it was on the Intuitive Machines lander, but I'm not sure. But he definitely has sold pieces. He used the blockchain to tokenize pieces. And so that was kind of the beginning. He's pretty loud about it. So go look up Copernic and Grant Blaisdell.
Absolutely.
Yeah, it's a start.
Okay. Let us go to our guest this evening. Obviously, we've been talking a lot lately on this show about AI and data centers in space. Yes or no, or maybe so, and what's going on, and all the money that's going into that now. Well, here we have somebody who's absolutely focused on building one right here, right now, and he's raised a crap ton of money to do it with so far, and they're just getting started. I want to introduce you to our guest this evening, Phillip Johnston, co-founder and CEO of Starcloud, whose goal it is to put data centers in space to address the AI energy challenge. Phillip, welcome to the show. Thanks for coming.
Thanks
for having me on. Awesome to be here.
Yeah. Glad to have you. So, by way of preamble, I'm going to put all of this mania on your shoulders, right? I've said it publicly. I'm going to say it. I met you back in February last year. No one, I mean nobody, was talking about AIs in space, and now everybody is talking about data center in space. There are a few folks that are betting the farm on it, right? Planet last week just made a bet. Eric Schmidt's talking about it. That's one of the reasons why he says he bought Relativity. So it's your story. You should tell it. So give us a little bit about your background before we jump into it. What's your origin story? And then let's dig into this stuff.
Yeah, sure. Happy to. And yeah, I'm not sure I deserve all of the blame / credit for the data center space thing, but I'm happy to bear it. Go on.
I've got receipts, man. I can make that claim.
No, so. I'm happy to. I just don't want people on the chat going, "Oh, he's trying to take credit for something."
No, I'm not saying you're not taking credit. In fact, I've found that has been the opposite. But I am saying I didn't see it anywhere. Like Tom and I have been at this for 25 years. Dennis Wingo, at least 20 years ago, started talking about networks in space. And Dennis and his team, with the Stott family and a couple others at Lone Star, they were 100% first in this game, and it preceded you by at least 12 years. But they didn't make it loud. They didn't make it.
I was loud.
Right. So it's not that you were first, because we know the people that were first.
Yeah.
But you had a megaphone that nobody else had, which is why I am saying it's your voice that amplified this into kind of this discourse level. Public discourse. Yeah. So yeah. So please tell us your background, your origin story. How'd you get into space, and how'd you get into Starcloud?
Yeah, for sure. My background is, I'm originally from the UK, although lived more time outside than inside. Lived in South Africa for 6 years as a kid and a year later in life. Studied applied math and theoretical physics, undergrad and masters, and then spent the first 5 years of my career on the engineering side in software, but not in the space industry. And then moved to the sort of commercial product side with McKinsey, where I was working with the space agencies of the UAE and Saudi government. That's where I'd always been into space as a kid, wanted to be an astronaut and, all the rest of it. But I'd never taken it seriously as a career possibility until that point. So that's where I started to notice that the launch cost was coming down very rapidly, particularly, the introduction of Falcon 9 rideshare program, things like that. And then I actually founded and sold another company in between then and now, not related to the space industry, and then came together with my two co-founders, Ezra and Adi. Ezra has a PhD in engineering from Imperial and then spent a decade designing and building satellites, most recently with Airbus Defence and Space, where he did the deployables for NASA's Lunar Pathfinder mission. So his specialty is all things large deployable structures and in space. And then Adi was previously at SpaceX as a principal software engineer, working on tracking beams, which is a feature that enables Starlink for other spacecraft, particularly for Starship and Falcon 9 upstage. And then before that, he was 20 years at Microsoft on the data center side. So back in 2018, he was one of the very first people installing large GPU clusters in collaboration with OpenAI and NVIDIA. We came together 2 years ago to found Starcloud. The initial premise of the business was actually mainly providing edge and cloud services for other spacecraft. We had looked a bit at space-based solar and concluded that because you lose most of the energy in transmission to Earth, you would need a very low launch cost for that to be viable. But we started mainly working on this edge and cloud for other spacecraft. And then we ran the numbers again early last year, and that led to us putting out a white paper saying, no, actually, we think the launch cost break even is much closer than it would be for space-based solar, for example. And we came to the number of around $400 or $500 a kilo to be break even with a 10 cents per kilowatt hour energy price. And that led to the founding of the company, essentially, or that led to us. We went through Y Combinator last summer, and then 2 summers ago now.
2 summers.
Yeah. And then on the back of that, raised the seed round, and then we've launched our first spacecraft exactly 21 months after founding. So that's Starcloud 1. It's about the size of a small fridge. It's a 60-kilogram small sat. It has the first NVIDIA H100 on board, which is about 100 times more powerful GPU or AI compute than has been in space before. And with that, we've just trained the first model in space. We trained the Nano GPT from Andre Karpathy. He was retweeting about it, which was nice of him. And then we also ran the first version of Gemini in space. So we had Demesis Habis was tweeting about that, which is also nice. And then we got
about a big megaphone. You have a big megaphone. That's what I mean.
And Eric Schmidt. Schmidt.
Right. Yeah. When you've got name brand billionaires talking about your project, it does probably help.
Definitely helps. Yeah. And then we've got a second spacecraft launching in October this year. That's about 100 times the power generation of the first. We'll have by far the largest deployable radiator in space. Commercial radiator in space. It won't be as big as the ISS one. And it will have a bunch of the Blackwell chip from NVIDIA, as well as the AWS Outpost. And we'll have some Bitcoin miners on there as well. And that one is the first commercial offering. So that one will generate more cash than it costs to design, build, and launch. And that is, again, mainly focused on serving cloud and edge for other spacecraft, mainly DoD or DOW, and a few commercial Earth observation customers.
This is a show that's at that intersection, that crossroads of money and space. So let's talk about that for a minute. So that's your first paying customer. You said you're actually going to generate a profit off of the launch in October.
Yes.
Okay. You want to tell us your margins?
No.
So
did you really expect that? Did you really expect that?
Some people tell us their margins. I'm just saying.
The margin is low, but it's big. Yeah. It's greater than zero.
Okay. All right. That's still great, right? Not a lot of space companies are at it for a long time and don't have that. So that's awesome.
Okay, so let's get to some nitty gritty of what you're doing. We've gotten some money sources, or we're doing all that. Got your background. What do you intend to build? How long is it going to take you to build it and deploy it? What's your timeline for that? A little more about who your customers could be, and what's the long-term plan for all of this?
Yeah, so you mentioned Golden Dome earlier. We're definitely in the crosshairs of Golden Dome funding because they want an orchestration. They want a node on orbit that can process data. So they've got all of these sources of data coming in from commercial EO and from their own satellites, and they don't necessarily want to have to try and downlink all of that, even if they can. So, at the moment, they're waiting for ground stations, which is a nightmare, but in future, they'll have optical. But even with optical, your space to ground link is about 2 orders of magnitude less bandwidth than your space to space link. And so they would much rather have some ability to draw insights from particularly SAR data and hyperspectral and very high res optical. They want to be able to draw some insights from that before it gets, before having to downlink to the ground. And that's where they really want not just a Jetson, like they want H100 type capability on orbit. And so that's the main, honestly, customer type to start with. And so, yeah, the second spacecraft, as mentioned, that's about a 10 kilowatts satellite launching next year. We'll launch another one very similar the year after. So 2027, we'll launch a very similar one. Partly because Starship isn't ready, and partly because we think there'll be demand for that. Or, yeah, we'll know there'll be demand for that. And then we basically try and scale up every year. So we want to launch the Starlink V3 PEZ dispenser form factor on Starship, which is about 100. We think we can get 100 kilowatts in a 2-ton spacecraft. And then from there, we just launch a whole bunch of those. That one is the one where it comes close to being cost competitive with terrestrial on energy cost. And as soon as we possibly can, we'll launch a full Starship payload bay, which we're expecting to be sort of 15, 20 megawatts. And then we'll just be launching many of those. And it will be a very long time before we're docking anything together. Like, that we have this render of a massive 5 gigawatt center. It's an extremely long time before that happens, because you don't actually need to dock anything together unless you're training a large model. The only reason you would dock anything is to train a large model, because you need the whole thing to be internally networked.
Yeah.
But you're not going to be training a frontier model until the largest data center in space is bigger than the largest data center on Earth. And even in 10 years' time, probably the largest data center on Earth is going to be 5 gigawatts. So it's extremely unlikely that, anytime in the next decade, we're not going to be docking stuff together, basically.
I'm genuinely relieved to hear you say that.
Yeah.
I think your marketing is very misleading, and I have heard you say that before, but I wanted you to say it on camera, on screen, right? Like, that's actually honestly genuinely happy that you just said that, because it's much more closer to reality. Give me a perspective. I don't speak in megawatts and gigawatts. I don't speak that language. So compare that to what we just had up, the AST satellite. Yes.
So the surface area,
square feet of solar panels. How big is that? Yours compared to theirs?
How much? So I think it's roughly the Starlink V3 form factor that goes in Starship out the PEZ dispenser.
Yep.
A 100 kilowatt, which is about 100 kilowatts, that will have the surface area of about a 20 meter by 20 meter, so 400 meters squared, which is about 4,000 square feet, which is roughly the same area in terms of power generation as that. It will be different form factor in that we will have 2 wings that come off a central compute module, and then we have to pump coolant past chips and out to radiators. So the first part of the wings will be radiators, and the second part of the wings will be solar panels. And that's the form factor.
You once said to me that if you were going to build your business plan from scratch, that you would focus on radiators in space. Is that still true?
I mean, essentially, we are a space radiator company. I mean, like 80% of the engineering work that we're doing is radiators. So, so there's 2 difficult things about what we're doing. One is getting rid of the heat, and 2 is making the chips work in a high radiation environment. And so, like 70 or 80% of the team is working on the radiator, and the other 20, 30% is working on making the chips work in a high radiation environment. Space radiators are probably the most useful. I mean, they're like ubiquitously useful across many different types of spacecraft.
Every mission.
We're trying to file a bunch of patents, or we have just filed a bunch of patents around that. And it wouldn't surprise me if we ended up being a supplier of space radiators at some point.
It wouldn't surprise me either. If you can solve that problem, that's what everybody keeps coming back with is heat. So
I mean,
you describe you just said patents, you just filed some stuff. Can you describe, without giving away your IP, how in the hell do you do this thing that nobody else has figured out what you think you have figured out? So give us some hints.
It always makes me laugh because like the International Space Station radiator dissipates about 70 kilowatts, which is what we need for the Starlink V3 form factor, which is what you need to make the whole thing. Like, we can compete with terrestrial data centers on energy cost with just that form factor. That's exactly what Elon's going to do. So it's not like when people say, how are you going to heat? It's like, well, the International Space Station solved it ages ago. The difficult part is how do you make it cheap and light? Because the International Space Station radiator is expensive and heavy. Our radiator we're launching in October is 10 times less mass per watt of dissipation than the ISS radiator, and 100 times less cost per watt of dissipation than the ISS radiator. But that's not because we discovered some new physics. It's just because we've spent time figuring out a manufacturing process that makes it easier. And it is a very novel and interesting manufacturing process, but it's not like we changed any physics. So yeah, I mean, it's just coolant goes past the chips and then out to the radiator and then back to the chips. So nothing like groundbreaking.
Interesting.
Well, it is groundbreaking. It is extremely hard to replicate because, yeah. I don't want people to think it's easy because it's not been easy. Like, that's literally what we've got. We've got the thermal engineer from NASA's, from JPL, who was responsible for the thermal hardware on the Europa Clipper mission. We've got the lead thermal engineer from Project Kuiper. My co-founder Ezra has a PhD in it. So I mean, we have got a kick-ass team working on it. Yeah.
Well, you guys have raised a lot of money. That means you can buy some pretty smart people. How much? Did you see that comment from Jack Kerr the other day? Did you see this prediction? I'm just going to bring this up.
Oh yeah, he said we were going to get a big round by
right.
Something. Yeah.
Right.
I see.
Yeah.
Well,
all right.
To find a big round, I mean, you've already gotten
we've raised
35 and change just to get out the gate.
Sorry, you guys are both talking at the same time. Phillip, you go first. What?
Well, let me go back because we struggled to get. We raised a $2 million pre-seed at 10 post at the beginning of all this, and it took us 2 months to raise that, and nobody wanted to fund it, and it was a nightmare. And with that, we were trying to get one spacecraft in the air. Like we thought we could fund the entire first spacecraft with $2 million. And honestly, I think we probably came close. It wasn't too much more expensive than that. So like all of this, sometimes people say, oh my God, I can't believe you built this spacecraft with 12 people. That wasn't built with 12 people. It was built with 2 people. Addy and Ezra did the compute module for that and the antennas and all the power subsystems and everything. And we contracted the bus to Astro Digital. But we did the whole thing for $2 million. So yeah, when people say, "Oh, well, you've raised all the money," like blah blah blah. Well, we basically got where we are with $2 million and 3 people. So, but then once we got into Y Combinator, then everything changed. Then basically people just threw cash at us. So I mean, we would have been stupid not to take it. So then, since then, we've taken another $32 million.
What's the total? 32 plus 2? No, 32 plus 4. What?
34 in total.
34 in total. 34. Congratulations. I mean, seriously, that's fantastic. That's what we talk about in the show all the time is that intersection of money and capital. So money and space. So that's fantastic. Seriously, good for y'all. Yeah.
I appreciate it. But we did, yeah, I know the pain of trying to raise it for a space startup that nobody wants to fund because I did it.
Yep. All right. So here's his comment. For those that don't know,
we got rejected from YC twice before that as well. Otherwise, things would have been easier from the start.
I suspect that you probably paved the way for other folks to jump into Y Combinator these days, right? Because you are kind of a darling right now in the industry. So it probably makes it easier for other companies with big ideas to go through the Y Combinator door.
I hope so.
Yeah. All right. So for those that don't know, Jack Kerr has been with Payload for about a year and a half now. He is one of their lead researchers. He's primarily in charge of long thought pieces with deep research. He just did a piece about SpaceX. He's done several pieces on SpaceX. He's done some stuff on GPS. And so a week ago, just at the end of the year, he put together this his 23 space predictions. And I gotta say, this is one of the most interesting lists I saw at all at the end of the year. There's some really cool stuff in here. This would be an entire show just taking these one piece at a time. But the one that caught my eye, I'm sure everybody sent it to you. A big hyperscaler, number 4, a big hyperscaler, Microsoft or Google, that leads a large Starcloud round. So what do you have to say about that? I'm guessing because you're in the Pacific Northwest where we are that folks. What do you have to say? Large round.
We're kicking off a Series A at the end of the month or early Feb, maybe. To be frank, we're probably going to target the sort of well-known VCs for that round. We may then, if there's appetite, which it seems like there might be, do a much larger round before the end of the year, and that's when I think we would end up with the hyperscalers and those guys in.
Okay, so A at the end of January, early February, and then a large B round. I'm gonna put words in your mouth. Q3.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. All right. And then what do you do with all that money?
Well, design and build the V3 form factor. So Starcloud 3, which is this 2-ton, 100 kilowatt spacecraft that fits in the PEZ dispenser of Starship. Mm-hmm. That's mainly. I mean, it's a good question because we probably don't really need that amount of money, to be honest.
Right.
So, I mean,
it's the same war chest that we just talked about, half an hour
ago.
Yeah,
the Golden Dome thing. Yeah.
If
you have it, it's easier to get these types of Golden Dome contracts. Yeah. But that's the main thing.
Okay, so you're building the hardware. You're going to do it up modularly, of course, and you're going to start putting things together and just keep moving on to different milestones. What point do you actually start getting some revenues in all this? And
we have revenues now.
When do you hit break even, do you think?
Yeah, we have revenues from the first one. We'll hit break even with the second one launching in October. So that one, that one we could feasibly just run the company on that one forever. Mm-hmm. And then we become very profitable with Starship type, launch capacity and prices.
Do you need Starship to work in order
to work to compete with terrestrial data centers on the energy cost? There's no way we're replacing, AWS type servers until you have anything close to Starship launch prices. Potential Starship launch prices, I should say, because who knows what they'll end up being. But yeah, we can just run this cloud and edge services for other spacecraft as a business on its own, and it will be a very decent business. It won't be a $1 trillion business, but it will be a in the hundreds of millions of dollars a year revenue business within not too distant period.
All right.
But that's not really what the VCs care about. The VCs care because they think that we can be a $1 trillion business competing with data centers, and that's why we're getting the hype. But I mean, if that were to never happen, I'd still be fine being a business that provides cloud and edge services for other spacecraft as well.
How will latency affect you?
Well, right now it's a complete nightmare because obviously we have the same problems as everyone else trying to wait for ground stations and everything else. The second satellite has 3 optical terminals on it, 2 connecting to a mega constellation, which shall not be named, which you can guess.
It's not very many.
And one which is an SDA compliant laser to connect to customers and to the SDA transport layer. And so, we'll have basically sub 40 millisecond latency to anywhere on Earth, very high bandwidth connectivity on the second spacecraft. I think we might be the first commercial customer of that flying it as well, which would be interesting.
How many if you're not focusing on the Connex box style shipping container style, and that's a decade out future.
No. The shipping containers is what I would call the PEZ, the Starlink V3 PEZ dispenser form factor. We've welded one up in the office. It's 6 meters long, it's hanging on our ceiling right now. So we are ready to go whenever they're ready to go. And that will be the first form factor they allow to fly on Starship is that PEZ dispenser. They're expecting to fly their first Starlink V3s end of next year. And they're saying, or what we're hearing is 12 months after that will be the first commercial PEZ dispenser form factor for customers. So we could be 18 to 24 months away from that. which is really not that far away. I mean, that's actually pretty close.
How many sets do you think are going to be in your constellation? If we're not going to talk about the mega constellation that shall not be named, how big is your constellation? What are you aiming for in the next 18 to 36 months?
So in order to not need our own backhaul, we can get by with a ring of 8 around the terminator. Okay. So that means one of them will be above a ground station and the rest will be optically linked. If we can, I mean, we don't really mind using the backhaul, using Starlink or whatever, or Kuiper or whoever, so long as we can find a customer that will pay for it. So, it could be that we only start scaling up the constellation once we're doing this Starship-sized craft, and then we would do as many as we can do. I mean, we would literally, if we can do 10,000, we'll do 10,000. It's just going to come down to whether we can finance them.
I've been saying for a while that I didn't really have a lot of confidence in the shipping container model, but the microwave-sized version or the refrigerator-sized version, that made a lot more sense to me. And I've been saying that for a while now, so that's kind of cool.
Mm-hmm. Well, the Pez dispenser form factor is shipping container sized, I would say.
Who is the client, right? I mean, not names, but broad strokes there. Who is it that you think is going to use this? Because it's not people that are typing into ChatGPT and it, the message goes to Palo Alto and then bounces to the sky to you guys and then bounces back down and then back to me. That's not your customer, right?
It might be at some point. The only reason it wouldn't be is if you really care about 20 minutes.
18 months to 3 years. 18 months to 3 years.
Okay, 18 months to 3 years. It is other satellites. So in particular,
other satellites.
Yeah. That's by far the highest margin workload. It's about 100 times higher margin than doing what you just described.
Okay, because you're getting all the attention because people that don't know space think you're going to be answering their GBT questions.
Well, we will probably in 36 months.
36? Okay. That seems audacious, but I'm building an elevator on the moon, so I'm all for audacious, right? So I like
and
that.
If it's not 36, let's say it's 5 years. If there is a point in time where most new data centers are being built in space, and I keep telling people, I say within 10 years, most new compute capacity will be being built in space. If that's 10 years or 8 years or 5 years or 12 years or 15 years, if there is a point in any point in that time frame where that is true, you want to be in this business and you want to get in it now because that is trillions of dollars worth of capacity that you're deploying per year. Yeah.
Okay. I just want to mention, Veronica Ann has a question, and she asked about space debris mitigation. I think it's more important for when you're building some things that are now of size, of really big size to do certain things. What's your defense strategy against space debris? We haven't cleaned out the sky yet, so potentially adding more danger to your equation.
Yeah, it is an evolving topic at Starcloud. the rest of our industry. And the rest of our industry, yeah. The first few, we're flying very low. Actually, the first one is designed to fly at 320 kilometers altitude. And we initially thought we were going to do that because of the radiation. It turns out the chips work fine at 550, so we might not even bother boosting it down. No, we will just to test it out. And if you can fly low, you basically solve all ills. If you can fly it where, you saw recently, like a week ago, Starlink decided they're going to lower their altitude.
I was just about to ask that. Yeah.
Yeah, that solves every problem in terms of space debris because everything, if you have a collision, it deorbits very quickly and everything basically deorbits very quickly from there. Mm-hmm. So, and I'm very happy that Starlink is doing that because it would have been a nightmare if they'd had a collision at 550 kilometers or something.
Right. Is your decision to lower coincidental to their decision, or
Well, we decided that 2 years ago, and we very, very explicitly did it for the reason of space debris being the other. The other thing you can do is fly quite a bit higher, and it's also kind of makes you want to fly a bit higher as well, because 1,200 kilometers is the lowest you can be, such that you're 24/7 in the sun if you're in this dawn dusk sun synchronous orbit. So if we wanted to be 24/7 in that in the sun, we would need to fly there anyway, which is annoying because then you're a much higher radiation environment. But it's also extremely clean as an orbit because nobody wants to fly there. But it wouldn't probably stay clean very long. So most likely it's going to be everybody flying very low, and trying to avoid
hitting each other.
Yeah, hitting each other.
So, which raises the question: what is the expected lifespan of one of these modules?
5 years is what we're designing for. The first one is 3 years, but it's more of a demonstrator. But yeah, 5 years. Okay. And then the other reason to use docking, by the way, in the video we have these modules docking. The other reason for that is if you want the infrastructure to stay up there longer, because you kind of need to replace the chips every 5 years anyway, because they become obsolete. But if you want to keep the solar panels and radiator infrastructure there so that they can last for 20 years and you have a longer depreciation, then that's when you were doing this modular docking in and out stuff. But docking is so hard and expensive and all the rest of it. So yeah, as I say, I don't think it's going to be a while before that's mainstream.
Interesting. I like the idea of going from 8 to 10,000. I mean, now you're talking about rivaling SpaceX in terms of numbers of launches. You're based here in the Seattle region. I don't actually know where, but
Redmond, where Starlink is.
Redmond,
right? And Microsoft and AWS.
Yeah. It's the satellite capital of the world. Yay for us, right? So Planet, back when they were still named Planet Labs, were the first folks to develop the Henry Ford model of building satellites, right? A factory that built satellites. They went through very fast iterations. I think each of their satellites that iteration only lasted 5 to 7 months, and then they were on to the next one and the next one and the next one. Is that on your to-do list? Do you have enough capital to build that kind of factory? Do you have enough clients to support that kind of factory?
We don't have enough capital now, but we might by the end of the year. And yeah, that would definitely be. I would say our model is Starlink, and they do similar thing where they have new iterations and they iterate quickly. And Planet, because they did it first, but Starlink's done it at scale, really. So yeah, that's definitely the idea.
Cool. All right.
Something just quick. I know what you want to go into, Michael, but but the thing is, Veronica mentions automated chip replacement, which brings up the idea of maintenance. Now, even if you want these things to last 5 years, these things are highly complex machinery, in a way that's never been launched before.
Yeah.
Are you considering robotics or some kind of thing as a maintenance type, ongoing maintenance for these things?
No, not really, to be honest.
Okay.
You can think of us like a Starlink satellite. Like Starlink satellites last 5 years. They're very reliable. We'll be the same. We might need some kind of robotic maintenance if we were to start having this huge structure docked together and things like that. But yeah, robotic maintenance just adds a lot of cost and complexity. If we can just manufacture them reliably, I think that's yeah. And compared to a Starlink satellite, our satellites are incredibly simple, actually. Like we don't have any of the phased array antennas. We don't really need any of the, they do a lot of maneuvering and a bunch of stuff that we don't need to do. So yeah, I think it'll be a very simple satellite.
Okay, good, very good. Yeah, Michael, you're on. I know you want to do the 525.
Yeah, right. So we got 5 minutes left. What is we've talked a little bit about 18 months and 3 years. What does 5 years look like? And what does 25 years look like?
In 5 years, Starship will be at rate production, and that's when the world will wake up. I think the world will really wake up in probably 3 years. At the moment, people think it's hype now. It's not hype now. In 3 years, it will be mega hyped. Because you'll start seeing, these things rolling off the production line in, a few per week, and then people will be like, oh my, wow, okay.
Right.
So yeah, in 5 years we'll be at rate production. We'll be deploying these things very, very rapidly. My forecast for 10 years is that most new data centers will be being built in space in 10 years. That means probably still only 1 or 2% of all compute is in space, just because it takes a very long time to start replacing the stock. In 25 years, we could be at like half of all compute being in space or something like that. Yeah, but still certainly not more than half in 25 years, I don't think, because it's a bit like electric cars. Like in lots of places in the world, more than half of electric cars being produced are electric. If you ask what the total percentage of electric cars on the road are today, it's still only 4%. Yeah. And we've been doing that for like a decade now, mass manufacturing electric cars. So yeah, it will take a long time before the bulk is space based, but it will be in 25 years. I think will be a good way there.
Nice. That's a cool future. It's a cool future to imagine. Yeah. The last question is, Starlink has its own launch capability. How much of your budget is dedicated to launch? It's got to be a pretty big chunk.
It is a big chunk. This is a great question. I don't have like the best answer in the world for it, to be frank. My only answer to it would be SpaceX will have a lower cost base than us. SpaceX are basically doing almost identical to what we're doing, which is this Starlink V3 form factor for compute. They're going to have a lower cost base than us, so I can't get around that. One thing I would say is, if it's true that within 10 years most new data centers being built in space, it's not like it's only going to be SpaceX. Like in 3 years' time, all of the hyperscalers are going to wake up and realize, holy shit, if we don't have access to space compute, we are toast as well, because they can't expand. Like the amount, it's very difficult to build new energy projects, and it will be much harder in 3 years than it is now. We become an interesting partner. We have a higher cost base than SpaceX, and we have a lower cost base than all of the hyperscalers. So at that point, people like Microsoft, who don't have a space arm, and Meta, and Oracle, and Google, and OpenAI, at that point, they need to partner with somebody, and I think we become an interesting partner.
Or acquisition client, a customer,
or acquisition target.
We started the conversation with me making a prediction that AST was going to be acquired. Redwire is out there with an aggressive stance. Voyager is out there with an aggressive program.
The thing with AST that makes me think it might not be acquired is that it's already owned mostly by Vodafone and a bunch of others. So it's like, why would Vodafone sell their stake to somebody else? Vodafone's doing it because they're worried about Starlink. So I'd be surprised if AST gets bought, to be honest.
Okay. I didn't actually know who owned it, so that's good information. I appreciate that.
Absolutely.
Cool. Right on.
Right.
All right.
Okay. On that note, Phillip Johnston, CEO of Starcloud, a man on the move, a wunderkind, and a Renaissance man. It was very, very much a pleasure to have you on the show. I hope you'll come back again sometime and tell us all about your progress. And
I was just before, so we can get it in the show, I'm extremely excited about Michael's space elevator technology.
Appreciate that. Always nice to have that. Come back on Thursday. I'm going to have a couple announcements. So
absolutely. Our guest this coming Thursday is Michael himself. He's got some major announcements to make, and we're going to make a surprise out of that. And he spoiled his own surprise. So expect to get hit hard, man. We have the questions ready for you, dude. This is going to be fun to have you at the other end of this.
I can take
so. For Phillip Johnston, Michael Lane, Sean Key, I am Thomas Andrew Olson from the Center for Space Commerce and Finance. Keep watching the skies.